It doesn't concern you. That was what my sister's father-in-law said to me while sitting in my living room, holding a folder with my name printed across the top. My name, my address, my property tax record, my mortgage statement. My house. He said it like he was annoyed. I had walked into a private meeting. Except the meeting was happening inside my home, at my coffee table, beside my fireplace, with my younger sister sitting on the edge of the couch, crying so hard her hands could barely hold the pen they had pushed into her fingers. For a few seconds, I did not say anything. I just looked at the room. My sister, Grace, pale and shaking. Her husband, Ryan, standing near the hallway with his arms crossed, looking guilty but silent. His mother, Patricia, perched in my armchair with a mug of tea she had clearly made from my kitchen. And his father, Warren Bell, sitting forward with one palm pressed on a stack of papers like a judge about to deliver a sentence. On top of the papers was a document titled Occupancy and Family Equity Authorization. It sounded official. That was the point. Criminals rarely call theft when they can call it family support. I looked at Warren and asked very calmly, "Why is my house listed on those documents?" He gave me a thin smile. "Because your sister lives here, as my guest. Grace is married into our family. That makes this a family matter." I glanced at Grace. She was not looking at anyone. She was staring at the pen like it might explode in her hand. Then Warren said the sentence that changed everything. "It doesn't concern you." That was when I walked to the wall beside the television, picked up the small black remote for my home security system, and turned on the screen. The room went quiet. Warren frowned. "What are you doing?" I did not answer. I opened the camera archive. Living room, yesterday. Kitchen, Monday. Front porch, last week. My sister's mother-in-law stopped breathing normally when she saw herself appear on the screen. Warren's face changed. Just a little, but enough. Because people who invade your home with paperwork are usually careful about what they say while you are watching. They are less careful when they think you are gone. And my cameras had recorded everything. My name is Avery Collins. I am 36 years old. I own a residential security and digital evidence company in Raleigh, North Carolina. That means I install cameras, preserve footage, recover deleted files, and testify in civil cases when people claim they never said what the video clearly proves they said. I built my career around one simple truth: people lie, footage doesn't, at least not when you know how to preserve it properly. So when my sister's in-laws told me their attempt to use my home for a loan didn't concern me, I did not yell, I did not threaten, I did not throw them out immediately. I opened the security footage. And by the time that video finished playing, every person in the room understood exactly whose house they had entered. Before I tell you what was on that footage, comment below. What would you do if someone came into your home and told you your own property did not concern you? Would you call the police immediately, or would you let them talk long enough to expose themselves? Comment roll the footage if you already know the truth was about to destroy them. Grace is my only sister. She is 5 years younger than me, and for most of our lives, I felt more like her second mother than her older sister. Our real mother died when Grace was 13. Our father did his best, but grief turned him into a man who worked too many hours and spoke too few words. So I became the person who remembered things: doctor appointments, school forms, lunch money, birthday cupcakes, science projects, prom dresses, college applications. Grace used to joke that I was born with a clipboard in my hand. She was not wrong. I was the practical one, the planner, the problem solver, the person people called when the sink leaked, the internet stopped working, the insurance form made no sense, or someone needed to be picked up from the airport at midnight. Grace was softer, not weak soft. There is a difference. She believed people when they sounded sorry. She forgave before she understood what had happened. She gave second chances to people who had not yet finished abusing the first. I loved that softness when we were young. I feared it when she married Ryan Bell. Ryan was not a monster. That would have made everything easier. He was kind in small ways and cowardly in large ones. He remembered Grace's favorite coffee order, but could not defend her from his mother. He bought flowers after arguments, but never stopped the arguments from happening again. He told Grace he loved her, but always added, "You know how my parents are." That sentence can ruin a marriage. You know how they are. As if the damage is natural weather. As if everyone else must build their life around the storm. Ryan's parents, Warren and Patricia Bell, owned Bell Family Developments, a real estate renovation company that had once been very successful. At least, that was the story. They owned rental properties, flipped old houses, and liked to talk about legacy wealth at dinners where someone else usually paid the bill. Warren was the kind of man who spoke slowly because he assumed everyone was waiting for his opinion. Patricia was the kind of woman who could insult you with a smile and make other people think you were rude for noticing. The first time she visited my house, she walked through the entryway, looked at the high ceilings, the restored floors, the smart locks, the cameras, and said, "All this for one woman," I smiled. All this because one woman paid for it. She did not like me after that. Warren liked me even less. Men like Warren prefer women who either admire them or fear them. I did neither. My house made them uncomfortable. Not because it was huge, it was not. It was a renovated Craftsman with a wide porch, a fenced yard, 3 bedrooms, and a finished office over the garage. But it was mine, fully mine. I had bought it after leaving a corporate security job and building my own company from a rented desk and one laptop. Every light switch, every camera, every repaired floorboard, every lock on every door had been paid for by work they could not claim. People who measure control through property are unsettled by women who own their own doors. Grace and Ryan moved in with me 8 months before everything happened. At first, it was supposed to be for 2 weeks. Ryan said he needed space from his parents. Grace said they were fighting constantly because Warren kept demanding that Ryan help with temporary business issues. Temporary business issues became an unpaid tax bill, then a lawsuit from a contractor, then a bank notice, then angry calls from tenants whose security deposits had apparently vanished into renovation costs. Ryan looked more exhausted every time I saw him. Grace looked frightened. Not of Ryan exactly, of the life attached to him. One night, after Ryan left to meet his father, Grace sat at my kitchen island with her hands wrapped around a mug of tea and whispered, "I think they are going to lose everything." I asked, "Who is they?" She looked confused. "The Bells." "No," I said gently. "I mean, why do you say it like you are included?" Her eyes filled. "Because Patricia says if the company collapses, it will ruin Ryan. And if it ruins Ryan, it ruins us." That was how manipulation works. It expands the circle of responsibility until the wrong people feel guilty for refusing to drown. I told Grace she could stay as long as she needed. I told Ryan the same. But I also made something clear. My house is not part of your parents' problems. Ryan nodded quickly. Of course. Too quickly, that should have warned me. Over the next few months, Patricia became obsessed with my house. She asked about the mortgage, then property taxes, then whether Grace received mail here, then whether I had ever added Grace as an emergency contact on any official documents, then whether my security company was structured as an LLC or in my personal name. That last question told me Warren had coached her. I told Grace not to answer any more questions. She tried, but soft people trained by controlling families often think silence is rude, so they fill it. That is how predators collect details. A billing envelope here, a casual comment there, a just curious question over tea. By the time I realized how much they were gathering, they already knew enough to become dangerous, so I changed the locks, updated the camera system, did audio capture in the common areas where allowed, backed up all footage automatically to encrypted cloud storage. Grace teased me for being paranoid. I told her paranoia is fear without a file. Preparation is fear with folders. The day everything happened, I was supposed to be in Charlotte for a client deposition. A wealthy couple was fighting over a business sale, and I had been hired to authenticate deleted security footage from their office. The deposition ended early because the husband's attorney realized the footage proved exactly what his client had sworn never happened. Funny how quickly people settle when the truth has a timestamp. I thought about staying overnight. Then Grace texted me a photo of her daughter, Lily Mae, asleep on my couch with one sock missing and a stuffed rabbit under her chin. The caption said, "She waited for Aunt Avery until she passed out, so I drove home. The first thing I noticed was the black Cadillac in my driveway, Warren's car. The second thing I noticed was my front door was not fully closed, not open, not broken, just not latched. That made my stomach tighten. I entered quietly, not because I was afraid, because when you work in security long enough, you learn that information gathered before people know you are present is often the most valuable information you will ever get. I heard Patricia first. Her voice was soft and syrupy. "Grace, honey, you are making this harder than it has to be." Then Warren, "Sign the occupancy statement. That is all we need today." Then Ryan, "Grace, please. Dad knows what he's doing." Then my sister's voice small. "I don't understand why Avery's house is involved." Warren sighed. The kind of sigh men use when they want women to feel stupid for asking clear questions. "Because you live here. Because you are family. Because banks understand family arrangements better than emotional objections." That was when I stepped into the living room. Grace was sitting on my couch, crying silently. A folder lay open on the coffee table. Ryan stood near the fireplace. Patricia had her purse beside her and my tea mug in her hand. Warren held a pen. He looked annoyed when he saw me, not afraid, not guilty, annoyed. That told me everything about what he thought he was entitled to. "Avery," Patricia said, recovering first. "We weren't expecting you. I noticed." Grace stood up so quickly the pen fell from her lap. "Avery." I went to her first. "Is Lily Mae upstairs?" Grace nodded. "Asleep." "Good." Then I turned to the table. "What are these documents?" Warren closed the folder halfway. "Nothing you need to worry about. My name is on the top page. It is a family matter." "In my living room?" He smiled then, a thin smile. "It doesn't concern you." That was when I opened the security footage. At first, Warren laughed, actually laughed. "What is this supposed to prove?" I did not answer. I selected the hallway camera from Monday afternoon. The television showed Patricia entering my home with Ryan. Grace was at work. I was out meeting a client. Ryan used his key. I had given him one for emergencies. That mistake sat in my chest like a stone. On the screen, Patricia walked into my living room and looked directly at the camera. Then she looked away. People see cameras and assume they are decorative. That mistake has paid for half my career. The footage showed Patricia opening the mail basket on my entry table. Grace gasped. In the room, the real Patricia whispered, "That is not what it looks like." On the screen, video Patricia removed 2 envelopes, one from my mortgage company, one from the county tax office. Ryan said, "Mom, we shouldn't." Patricia replied, clear as glass, "Your father needs the parcel number. Stop acting like a child." The room froze. Ryan went pale. Warren's jaw tightened. I clicked the next file, kitchen camera. Tuesday evening, Warren and Patricia at my kitchen island. Ryan standing with his arms crossed. Warren had papers spread out. He said, "If Grace signs as resident family occupant, Eastbridge can process the bridge package. We do not need Avery's signature at this stage." Ryan asked, "Is that legal?" Warren replied, "It is legal enough if everyone keeps their mouth shut until funds clear." Grace made a sound behind me like she had been punched. Patricia stood. "Avery, turn this off." I clicked the next file. Living room. Wednesday night. Patricia speaking to Grace. "You do not want your daughter growing up knowing her mother destroyed her father's family." Grace on the screen, crying. "I don't want to sign something Avery didn't approve." Patricia leaned closer. "Then don't tell Avery until after. Families forgive paperwork. They do not forgive betrayal." The room was silent now. No one was pretending. No one could. Warren's voice became low. "You recorded private family conversations. In my house, that may be illegal." I turned toward him. "I own a security evidence company." "Do you really think I don't know my own state's recording laws?" He said nothing. That was answer enough. Then I played the last clip, the one from 22 minutes before I came home. Warren had leaned across my coffee table and pushed the pen into Grace's hand. "If you do not sign, Ryan loses his inheritance, our company collapses, and every person in this family will know you caused it." Grace sobbed. Ryan whispered, "Grace, please." Warren continued, "Your sister does not need this house. She is unmarried. She has no children. You have a family. You have responsibilities." That line moved something through me so cold I almost smiled. The real Warren stood. "Enough." I paused the video on his face, then I turned around. "No," I said, "now it concerns me." Patricia started crying, not real crying, strategic crying, the kind that begins with one hand to the chest and no tears for the first 30 seconds. "Grace, sweetheart, this is being twisted. We came to help." Grace looked at the frozen video, at the pen, at Ryan, then at me. For the first time in months, her voice came out steady. "You came to use me." Ryan flinched. "Grace, no." She wiped her face. "You knew." He opened his mouth. She cut him off. "You knew they were taking Avery's mail. You knew they had these papers. You knew they wanted me to sign before she came home." Ryan's face crumpled. "I thought if the money came through, we could fix everything." Grace stared at him. "You were going to fix your family by breaking mine." He had no answer. Warren grabbed the folder. "We are leaving." I stepped between him and the door. "No, the papers stay. They are mine. They contain my property information obtained from my home without permission." His face reddened. "You do not want to make an enemy of me." I almost laughed. "You made a mistake thinking I wasn't already one the moment you used my sister's fear as collateral." He looked at Ryan. "Get your wife," Grace said. "I'm not going anywhere." Another silence, this one different, bigger. Because that was the moment the pattern cracked. Warren could handle me, or thought he could. He could dismiss me as aggressive, unmarried, controlling, dramatic. But Grace saying no? Grace was the one they had trained to fold. When she stood, still crying but no longer shaking, even Patricia looked afraid. I picked up my phone and called my attorney, Simone Price. On speaker, Warren said, "That is unnecessary." Simone answered on the second ring. "Avery, I need you at my house. Possible attempted property fraud, unauthorized access to mail, coercion, recorded evidence, and active documents on site." Warren's face changed with every phrase. Simone said, "Are the parties still present?" "Yes. Do not let anyone remove documents. I'm 10 minutes away. If anyone threatens you or your sister, call police immediately." Patricia whispered. "Oh my God." Warren tried one last time. "Avery, this has gotten emotional." "No," I said. "It just became documented. They stayed because they did not know what else to do. That is something people forget. Bullies are powerful until procedure enters the room. Then they have to wait like everyone else." Simone arrived in 9 minutes wearing jeans, a blazer, and the expression of a woman who billed by the hour and enjoyed being worth it. She reviewed the documents at my table. Watched the key clips, asked Grace 3 questions, asked Ryan 2, asked Warren none. That seemed to offend him. "Do you not want my side?" he asked. Simone looked up. "Your side is currently playing in high definition." I loved her in that moment. Within an hour, she had contacted Eastbridge Capital, the private lender named in the documents, and issued a preservation notice. By midnight, the lender froze the preliminary file. By morning, Eastbridge confirmed Warren had already submitted a package claiming Grace had authority to participate in a family-backed equity loan connected to my property, a loan for $375,000 against my house, without my consent, using documents built from stolen information and fear. That same morning, I changed the locks again. Ryan's key was deactivated. Grace packed his clothes into 2 suitcases and left them on the porch. When he arrived, he looked devastated, not angry, devastated. That almost made it worse, because I could see the man Grace had loved underneath the cowardice. But love underneath cowardice still lets harm through. He stood on my porch and asked to speak to her. Grace came to the door with me standing behind her. He said, "I didn't think it would go this far." Grace answered, "That means you thought it would go somewhere." He closed his eyes. "I'm sorry." She held Lily Mae against her hip. Their daughter reached for him. Grace's face tightened, but she did not step forward. "You can arrange visitation through an attorney," she said. Ryan cried then, quietly. But Grace did not comfort him. That was the first time I knew she was going to survive. The investigation unfolded slowly. Paperwork justice always does. Eastbridge Capital opened an internal fraud review. Simone filed a civil action seeking a protective order preventing Warren, Patricia, Ryan, or any affiliated business from using my name, property, address, records, or Grace's residency in any financial application. The court granted emergency relief within days. Warren's company began collapsing almost immediately after the lender froze the file. Not because of me, because it had already been rotten. One frozen loan simply stopped hiding the smell. Vendors sued, a former partner came forward, 2 tenants claimed security deposits had disappeared, a second lender discovered inflated renovation valuations. A third found duplicated invoices. The house of cards did not fall because I touched it. It fell because Warren had been stacking lies in a windstorm. Patricia tried to call Grace constantly. At first, Grace listened to the voicemails. Then she stopped. The messages followed a pattern. First, anger. How could you do this to family? Then guilt. Your husband is suffering. Then fear. Your daughter will grow up without grandparents because of your sister. Then sweetness. We miss Lily Mae. Let's talk like adults. Grace saved every message, not because she wanted to use them, because proof helped her remember. That is one thing people misunderstand about evidence. It is not always for court. Sometimes evidence is for the victim. So when guilt returns at midnight and whispers maybe it was not that bad, you can open the file and remind yourself what actually happened. 3 months later, Grace filed for legal separation. Ryan did not fight it. He had moved into a small apartment and started therapy. I do not know whether he did it because he wanted to change or because the court suggested it would help him look stable. Motives matter less than patterns. So far, the pattern improved. He showed up for supervised visits. Paid support, stopped carrying messages from his parents, apologized to Grace without demanding comfort. That did not make him a hero. It made him a man finally doing the minimum years late. Grace rebuilt slowly. She found a job at a medical billing office, enrolled Lily Mae in daycare, started going to therapy twice a month, learned to sleep through the night without checking her phone. One afternoon, I came home and found her assembling a bookshelf in the guest room while Lily Mae handed her screws one by one like a tiny construction manager. Grace looked up and smiled. I signed a lease today. I stood in the doorway. My throat tightened. You did, she nodded. Small apartment. 2nd floor. Terrible parking. Good light. I hugged her so hard she laughed. For years, I had protected Grace by being strong around her. That day, I let myself cry. She did too. Lily Mae clapped because she thought we were celebrating the bookshelf. Maybe we were. The apartment was not much. 1 bedroom, old cabinets, a balcony that overlooked a parking lot, and one determined maple tree. But to Grace, it looked like freedom. She bought yellow curtains, a blue rug, secondhand dishes, a tiny desk for working from home. The first night she slept there, she called me at 10:42. I keep listening for someone to knock. They won't. I know. But knowing takes time to reach the body. A few months after Grace moved out, I finally watched all the footage again. Not for court, not for Simone, for myself. I sat in the living room with a cup of coffee and replayed the moment Warren said, "It doesn't concern you." I paused it there, looked at his face, the certainty, the arrogance, the complete confidence that a woman's home could become family property if enough pressure was applied to the right frightened person. Then I looked around my living room. The room was quiet now. No papers, no crying, no stolen mail, just my couch, my books, my security monitor, and a small basket of toys Lily Mae still used when she visited. For a while, I had thought about selling the house, not because I wanted to leave, because the memory of that day had entered the walls. But then Grace came over one Sunday with Lily Mae. We made pancakes. Lily Mae spilled syrup on the floor. Grace laughed instead of apologizing 10 times. And I realized the house had not been ruined by what they tried to do inside it. It had proven what it was built for, protection. A house is more than equity, more than walls, more than a deed. A house is a boundary, a locked door, a place where a sister can cry and still be safe, a place where a child can sleep upstairs while adults fight to keep danger downstairs, a place where someone can say, "It doesn't concern you," and the walls themselves can answer, "Yes, it does." Warren eventually pled to reduced financial charges related to lender misrepresentation. That is the clean legal phrase. The emotional translation is simpler. He lied for money and got caught. His company dissolved. Patricia moved in with her sister. Their big house went up for sale. Grace saw the listing online and stared at it for a long time. Then she closed the laptop. Does it make me a bad person that I don't feel sorry? No, I said. It makes you a person who remembers. Ryan later told Grace that his father still blamed me. Grace replied, "Of course he does." Blaming Avery is easier than becoming honest. I was proud of her for that, not because she defended me, because she saw the pattern clearly. That is recovery, not forgetting pain, recognizing it before it can rename itself. 1 year after that awful day, Grace and Lily Mae came over for dinner. We ate in the living room because Lily Mae wanted to watch a cartoon, and Grace said rules could rest on Saturdays. After dinner, Grace stood near the fireplace and looked at the small camera above the bookshelf. Do you ever feel strange knowing it recorded all that? I thought about it. No. Why? Because for once, someone else carried the memory. She looked at me, and I knew she understood. Victims are so often forced to become the archive of their own harm. They remember the tone, the words, the look, the pressure. Then other people ask if they are sure, if maybe they misunderstood, if maybe emotions made things bigger. That footage gave Grace something no gaslighting could erase, a record, a witness that did not blink. She stepped closer and hugged me. Thank you for coming home early. I hugged her back. Thank you for not signing, she whispered. I almost did, but you didn't. That mattered. Almost is not failure. Almost is the edge you step back from. So if you are listening to this because someone has ever used the word family to make you ignore your own fear, remember this. Family is not a password that unlocks your boundaries. Family is not permission to take. Family is not a loan agreement written in guilt. Family is not a reason to hand over your home, your savings, your child, your name, or your peace to people who only respect you when you obey. A person who loves you may ask for help. A person using you will demand sacrifice and call your hesitation betrayal. Now the difference. My sister's in-laws came into my living room with papers for my home. They told me it did not concern me. Then I opened the security footage, and suddenly every soft threat had a timestamp. Every stolen envelope had a frame. Every lie had an angle. They thought they were walking into a family matter. They were really walking into evidence. And by the time the footage finished playing, they finally understood the rule they should have known before they crossed my threshold. In my house, truth is recorded, and family does not get to hide behind closed doors anymore. If this story made you angry, comment "roll the footage" below. Tell me honestly, would you have exposed them in the room or waited for court? And subscribe for more emotional stories where the quiet person finally opens the file, plays the evidence, and lets the truth speak.